I want to shift us to rucking.
Okay.
I really dislike rucking, but now you got me rucking. So tell us why rucking and things like it are so valuable and are distinctly different than like quote unquote hitting the gym.
So I'll tell you how I sort of came to this realization, started writing about this in the first place, is that when we were in the Arctic, we're hunting. Right. So when you look at why humans are good at running, and by the way, we're good at two things. We're good at running and we're good at carrying. And I'll tell you why we're good at carrying. So the reason we're good at running is because we evolved to run long distances to chase down animals in the heat and spear them. So humans are really good at cooling ourselves in the heat, right? And we can run these long distances. Other animals can't manage their heat, so we'd slowly but surely run down animals. Eventually, they would get too hot, they'd topple over from heat exhaustion, and then bam, we'd kill them. Okay, so this is a theory called persistence hunting.
So we won the thermoregulation game.
We won the thermoregulation game, yeah. So we sweat, we don't have much fur, and then our bodies are also designed for this type of persistence hunting. There's a guy at Harvard, Dan Lieberman, who had this, I think it was in 2004, paper about this, how the reason we're built the way we are, one of the key reasons is so we could run long distances for persistence hunting. So I'm familiar with that research, right? I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. Cool. I'm like, oh, this explains why I have like, these big butt muscles, these arched feet, these whatever. So we go up to the Arctic. We're hunting, eventually successfully hunt a caribou. And we're taking every usable part of it we can. So we load our packs with all this weight. It's like 100-something pounds in this damn pack. And start walking back to camp. And I'm just thinking about this research about, okay, humans evolved to run long distances so we could hunt. Great. But what happens after you actually kill an animal? You got to carry that damn thing back to camp, right? And so it occurs to me, well, wait a minute. We're also pretty unique among animals in that we can carry weight. Like no other mammal can just pick up weight on its own and carry it a long distance. I was like, that's interesting. So I just start looking into this, and yeah, humans are the only mammal that can pick up a weight and carry it a long distance, and it absolutely shaped us into who we are. It allowed us to really conquer the globe because we could take tools into the unknown, right? We can cover these long distances on our two legs, and our hands are freed up to carry our tools, to carry whatever it might be, and it really turned us into who we are. Now the thing is when you look at running, plenty of people run, right? Like running and marathons, that is a popular activity. But how many people are just like carrying weight as a regular form of exercise? The answer was really not that many. So I'm thinking like, okay, who actually still maybe does this? And it turns out it's the military. So rucking is sort of the main activity of physical training in the military. It's just throwing weight in a backpack and going for a long walk. And I've actually started to sort of even shift my language from using the term rucking to simply saying walking with weight or weighted walking. And the reason for that is if I tell my mom, hey, you should ruck, she goes, oh, okay. And she types in ruck and she goes, the hell is this military stuff, Michael? I'm 75 years old. So I've started to call it more walking with weight, so it's a little more approachable for the masses. But I think the benefit of it is that you're getting cardio stimulus because you're covering ground, but you're also getting strength work because you've loaded your skeletal system, your muscular system, and that comes with a lot of benefits. You kind of got this 2-in-1. So it generally will burn more calories per mile than walking or running, and that is simply because you've added extra weight. Of course, if you're running, you might cover more distance in the same amount of time, but if you just compare it by distance, it's burning more calories. And I think it's one of these activities that can really fill in gaps in people's training. And to what you sort of alluded to in your question is there's a variety of reasons it fills in gaps, but one of them is simply that it gets people outside. Like there's a lot of gym people who are like, yeah, I lift all the weights, but like I'm not doing that running thing. A lot of people can't run and like, oh, by the way, walking feels a little too easy. I'm not going to do that. So if you can throw some load on someone and have them go for a walk, it gets them outside, helps them preferentially burn fat, it seems, compared to something like running. So there's this interesting study, and I'll caveat this by saying it was a very small study. I think it was only 12 people because they could only find 12 crazy enough people to do it. It was on backcountry hunters in Alaska. And so these guys carry these heavy packs out into the mountains for, a week or whatever, and they test them, and they ended up losing a significant amount of weight, but it was all from fat. They actually gained like a very minute amount of muscle. And that really shouldn't happen in the context of going out and losing weight, right? You're probably going to lose fat along with muscle. But with this, they ended up losing mostly fat. So I just think it's this amazing activity that we really wove out of our lives due to technology. Humans evolved to carry. People were carrying babies all the time, like every day in the past. We'd go hunt and we'd have to carry all the meat back to camp. We would carry food that we gathered, like gathering. We're hunters and gatherers. Gathering is literally walking around, finding some food, carrying it, finding more, carrying it back to camp. And then we got, cars, we got grocery carts, we got XYZ, we got furniture dollies that we don't carry as much. And I think we've lost a really important form of human movement and physical activity that we were literally born to do. And so my suggestion to all the listeners is get some weight and carry it. Easy to throw some weight in a backpack and go for a walk. And it'll be good for you.
How much weight and how far?
So if someone is just starting, I tell them to start light. I think, so after I published The Comfort Crisis with there's an entire chapter on walking with weight or rucking. I got all these people in the military who go, rucking destroyed me. You go, okay, well, how much did the military start you with? 100 pounds. It's like, well, yeah. It's like if you did anything at that intensity immediately went into like the red, you're going to get injured. It could be squatting. It's like, yeah, I tried to max out on my deadlift every time I deadlifted, the first time I deadlifted. Therefore, no one should deadlift. Right? You need to ease into this. So I tell people women can start with anywhere from 5 to, say, 20 pounds, suggest. Men, anywhere from 10 to 30, depending on your fitness level. I would rather have someone really ease in and sort of get used to it, because a lot of people will say, yeah, I went a little too heavy and it really sucked. Like, I want you to sort of on-ramp slowly. And then from there, you can build up over time. And so I have plenty of, women who might weigh 130 pounds who now use 30 pounds, which is a significant amount of weight.
Yeah.
I'll have men who, maybe they started with 20 and they're like, that's way too light. Like, I just have too much of a base of fitness. It's like, okay, good. Well, I'm glad we started there, though. So we know for sure. And then they've ramped up to, say, 40, sometimes 60. I mean, for me, my sort of go-to weight is probably 35 to 40 pounds. Mm-hmm. And I find that that's a weight where it's uncomfortable, it's challenging, but it's also not so soul-crushing that I'm like, I got to end this walk. Like, this absolutely sucks. I can still enjoy it. And of course, I'll go heavier sometimes. If I'm going really far, sometimes I might be like 20 pounds or something. I think it's really just like start light, take a walk, see how that feels. It doesn't have to be too complicated.
Yeah, I said I hate rucking, but I love the way I feel afterwards. Maybe that's the form of exercise I don't like. I just outed myself as not liking a certain. I find that it forces me to pay attention to some of the smaller stabilizing muscles. Like, you can't be as loose with your gait. You have to be pretty thoughtful, especially if you're hiking. You can't stride too long here or there. You just naturally keeps you moving more like a packed mule, mm-hmm. Which I think can be helpful. Yeah. And I do notice that when I take off the rucksack or the vest on a different day and I run, I definitely feel faster and lighter just by way of comparison. Probably a real change too, due to the small stabilizing muscles. This thing about losing more body fat will get people motivated.
Yeah,
people love that.
Usually works. I think it's also a good tool for runners because the injury rate is much lower. So if you're within a reasonable amount of weight, like, of course, if you go up to these crazy weights, so I generally tell people, if you just want like a firm number, don't go over 50 pounds. If you want a more sort of dialed in number to your body weight, don't go over a third of your body weight. There's a lot of military research that suggests that. But even for me, like, I don't go up to a third of my body weight all that often unless I have a really good reason. I'm training for something like backpacking or hunt or something. So if you're within a reasonable amount of weight and not too heavy, the injury rate is exceedingly low. It's not that much higher than the injury rate of walking, and walking is pretty safe.
Do you ever experience kind of crossover of understanding between your physical pursuits and your creative intellectual pursuits. Like, do you find that, for instance, if you ruck, that there's a certain, you start to recognize where the resistance is? Is it putting on the pack? Is it, a third of the way through, you tend to feel pretty good? Do you notice those contours, and do they map to the contour of sitting down and writing? That it's hard at first, then it gets easier, and then at some point there's a breakthrough, or else it just plain sucks the whole time?
I think so. I'd like to hear your experience with running, but my experience with running is that the first, say, 3 miles, they suck. I go, oh, this is hard. Like, things just start, you just feel like resistance. And then eventually, usually after, say, mile 3, all of a sudden I feel like, oh, I could do this forever. I could do this the rest of the day if I wanted to. But if I don't go through that first 3 miles, I'm never going to get to 4+ or whatever it is. And I do feel like that's the same with writing, where it's challenging at first. The things aren't moving, but then things start to move, But you need that buy-in. Like, you need you're not going to have those amazing 4+ miles after mile 4 or sentence after the 20 paragraphs you deleted if you don't run the first 3 miles or write the first 20 paragraphs.